To go live.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Blueprints for Freedom. This episode specifically titled Echoes of Stonewall, the Black Queer Revolution Continues. Today, I will again be your co-host, Alyssa Marie, with the lovely, the amazing Timo.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Glad to have y'all here.
Mm. Today's episode will focus on uplifting the radical legacy of Black queer and trans and femme resistance, honoring specifically the 57th anniversary of Stonewall, and envisioning a liberated future rooted in Black queer power, joy, and organizing. For this topic, we have two amazing guests who will be joining us today. Um, both cultural workers, healers, organizers, movement builders, storytellers, poets, artists, so many hats that they wear across the board.
Everything. So they are everything.
We are excited to welcome on stage with us Sun Queen and Allah.
Welcome, y'all.
Um, we are and you're muted.
Good. She was meant to be muted.
I was on purpose. It was on purpose because my, Raven calls me out here. Boo boo.
Period.
Yeah. I would love to kind of open up with hearing from y'all, Allah and Sun, and maybe just like a little bit about who you are, the work y'all doing, kind of so folks can kind of get to know Sun and Allah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, who's first?
You can go.
My name is Allah. My pronouns are they and she, and I feel most seen when you use them both interchangeably. Um, I am a Ravenclaw. Shout out to all my fellow Ravenclaws. I figured out my newest title, what I think I'm going to retire with is I am a villain to oppression. I am an abolitionist. I am a mama. I'm a caregiver. I'm a rabble rouser. I'm a sister. I'm a witch. I am a future ancestor. Um, I am star seeds and stardust, and I am a co-creator, a lover, a fighter, all the things that y'all also identified me as. And I am a learner. Son?
Thank you. So I am Sun. I am the co-founder of Black Lives Matter New Haven. I am also an organizer with UACT, which is Unhoused Activist Community Team here in New Haven. I am a being that is filled with creativity, purpose, and centering community and love and all the things that you all have mentioned. I am also a student, and I am loved by the universe.
Heavy on the love by the universe.
Period. I am so happy to have y'all both up here. I love you both. For those of you watching, we've all been organizing together for about 10 years now.
More.
I met both Sun and Allah when I was a freshman in high school.
Mhm.
They have been supporters of Citywide since then. Black Lives Matter has been one of our strongest partners over the years, and we're thankful for the partnership that we've been able to build with you all.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get into it. Stonewall. It's crazy to think that 57 years ago is when Stonewall happened, and yet it is 2025, and we're still dealing with some of the very same struggles, and are finding ourselves in similar places to our ancestors, like Marsha, fighting for our right as queer folks to exist in this time. So I'd love to know. Uh, what does the word liberation mean to you in this moment that we're existing in?
Mm. My emergent answer for that is liberation right now is like my version of the AKA ski weed. Like, if you're not talking liberation, we get to exist together, we get to be together, but we ain't building. Like, I can't. Like, it's liberation or nothing at this point. And if within the first 3 minutes, if we not saying that directly or saying the things that mean liberation for everyone, then I know that this may not be a container for me to root myself in, and there is a reason for me to filter in and out and keep it moving.
So first, I just want to start off with that you said, Alyssa, something about like in these moments. And so first, I want to start by saying that in these moments, it's even hard for us to think sometimes, and um, yeah, just to uplift that because it is such a hard and crazy time right now. But liberation for me in these times is to be visible. And as much as we are filled with so much grief and hurt and disappointment, to also remember to center joy as much as possible, right? And to to continue to keep fighting. Um, in the face of oppression, keep resisting, keep showing up, keep creating art, um, and living loud, free, and boldly um, as you can. And so, in these times, that's what liberation is looking like and feeling like. Yeah.
Thank you both for that. Um, Now to really kick us off, if we see Stonewall as a beginning, right, as sort of like the genesis to the queer liberation movement, even though we know that queer folks long existed way before Stonewall.
Mhm.
But if we see it as a beginning and not an end, where do we as a movement, as Black trans feminists, go from Stonewall? I think, when we look at it over the last 57 years, the queer movement has sort of taken many turns. So do you think the place in which we are now as a movement honors the legacy that was set forth by folks like Marsha and Sylvia and Miss Majors and so many other folks who were there?
Honors it? I don't know if I would necessarily. I would say, who are the characters we're talking about in that moment? I think what we're experiencing right now are modernized systems of oppression. Because oppression has capitalism funding it, it's always eons ahead of liberation movement work. And so, because of that, I think it's important right now to like be specific about the characters we're talking about, because in the same moment we're in 2025 and Black queer folks are still experiencing firsts that seem like when they experience it we're like, wait, this is the first time, like it's just wild. And then we just went through like like a good like 5 to 7 years, and it still actively happened where like the story of Stonewall is trying to be whitewashed, and they even made a movie about some white boy. And like we are really dealing with white queer men having a resurgence and having time to enter into being out in political movements in a different way. And we see the way that politics are still gravitating and becoming more and more blatant in the tactics of oppression. So what I would say for me, I think it's important for me to know and name what I just named, and that is Marsha, Sylvia, and Miss Majors. That honors them, because what they were doing was naming. All they did was just be tired. That's what happened. That's what started Stonewall. It wasn't something that they had this epiphany and they were like, you know what we're gonna do. No, they were living their lives and they were fucking tired of people oppressing them. Oh wait, can we cuss?
Too late.
Freaking tired of people oppressing them, and they were in the moment. What Stonewall was in the moment, and a result of constant oppression, constant violence, constant erasure. And what we are doing, right, what I'm dealing with as a Black, femme, non-binary, fat, differently able person who is a consultant and a facilitator and a movement maker, is I'm dealing with modernized systems that Mama Marsha, Mama Sylvia, and Mama Majors were dealing with. So I think it's important to stipulate who are the communities that you talk about. With Black and brown and Latina queer folks, I think we are experiencing, thank God for the young people, we're experiencing a moment where people like me could figure out our identities in our 30s, because young people are fighting to get language and shared out to root it and ground it in liberation work and their ancestors. And so I think for Black, brown, and Latina poor organizers who work really hard to stay into their integrity, they are really deeply honoring our mothers. But that is not something that I'm willing to speak in generalities anymore. And the fact that we have Agent Orange at the lead of our nation again. So we got to be for me, I need to be very specific about who I'm talking about, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I forgot the question. I think what I heard was, but and also everything that Ala was saying, like yes, all of that. But what I did hear, Alyssa, there was where do the movement go from here, or what do we have to do, or something like that. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Just re-ask the question.
That was it.
The question was specifically if Stonewall was a beginning, and we've seen it as sort of the beginning to this big queer liberation movement and not an end. Where do we go from there?
Okay, that's what it was. Thank you for that. I think pretty much just continuing the work of right those who came before us and remembering all of the resistance, right? And that, so pretty much we're a part of a legacy. And so we have to continue to do that work, know where and how we show up. And those things are important to continue to, to continue with the movement. And also with Stonewall being right a riot and fighting against police brutality and things like that. I think it's important for us to, well, not us that's doing the work, but and to reimagine safety. Right? Oftentimes people think that police keep us safe, and so I think that remembering and honoring our history is very important to continue this work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. There was something that you touched on, Ala, that I want to focus in on a bit, and specifically around how has the nonprofit industrial complex softened the radical roots of queer liberation movements? And we know that the nonprofit industrial complex overall has served as a weapon of softening often very radical movements. But
Whitewashing.
whitewashing. So what are some of like the biggest things that we have seen over the last 30-40 years that have really sort of weakened the movement, right? And I'm thinking about organizations like HRC and the Trevor Project and so many of these other like big queer rights orgs.
Can you ask the? I'm being petty. Can you re-ask the question for me? Just like the last part.
How has the nonprofit industrial complex in the radical roots of queer liberation movements?
Mm-hmm. Son, you want to go first? I always got the answer and an opinion, so I want to give my best friend who tends to fall back first.
I mean, I mean, I think I said it. I think overall, it just it just waters it down. It whitewashes it. I think depending, no, not depending, but when you are receiving certain funding and things, they kind of put strings on you on how you have to organize. And so I think that hinders the fullness of the movement, right? I can't show up and so much rage because right I'm being funded and so I have to act a certain way. I have to do things a certain way. Um, then there's the respectability politics, and so again, overall, that's just watering it down and trying to turn the movement into and folks into being puppets.
I was writing my notes down because I got ADHD. I would have forgot. I want to undergird everything that Son just named and be hard on systems and soft on people. That's what I'm always telling myself: hard on systems, soft on people. Right. I also think one of the most systemic ways of this whitewashing has been has always been a nonprofit push for just direct services. And when we're thinking about what are the direct services that queer people universally, but if we're just staying rooted in, Turtle Island, the United States, right? I would say, you know, it's the whitewashing, it's the cis gay man whitewashing of it all. And because we need we need the Trevor Project, because the Trevor Project was created for a certain demographic, but we needed the government and white people to fund the Marsha P. Johnson project as much as they fund and funded right, currently and in the past and in the future. So I think that is all right. Get out. I'm sorry, I have a little angry dog. So I think that is the first thing. There is an unwillingness to change the lived experiences of those of us who are from historically divested communities and who are also queer or TLGBTQ, IA plus, right? They're it These systems make sure that they separate race. I'm on a community conversation. What you need? We just got done. Okay, love you. It's my son. Um, there is a direct. There's a direct. There's a direct mission. ADHD to do that, to separate funding the lived experiences and organizing, right? And then the direct services that are funded are not on en masse black trans queer housing in the United States. That's not what that's not what gets funded. You know what I mean? So that is part of the reason, right? And so the orgs that do fund organizing for the TLGBTQI community, what intersectional identities are they funding? They do not. It's like spurts of time where it's popular to fund black shit. And right now it's not popular to fund anything. Our lived identities are criminalized in such a direct way right now. We've never experienced the holistic version of oppression systemically, interpersonally, culturally, in the way that we are experiencing now due to modern technology and all the things. And so what we're seeing now is we see all these white nonprofits and we see all the people who fund that even tightening their purses, making more excuses not to fund the identities of us who are in charge, like our organizations. I'm not familiar with the historical background of the Trevor Project, but I highly doubt that in its history that it's had all black boards and very black and brown and Latina boards and leadership at the executive level. And so that is the reason, and that is a stronghold, right? It's never been popular to fund black trans anything because of the black, not because of the trans. Because when we talk about white trans people, there's a difference.
That reminds me, I don't know if folks remember a couple of months ago, what's the name? GLAD was doing their gala, and a bunch of black queer trans folks and brown queer folks were in the room, and we're trying to hold GLAD accountable for silencing black queer organizers who were sort of demanding for GLAD to come out and call what was happening in Gaza a genocide, and like refuse to accept donations from the Israeli government, so on and so forth. So it does remind me of sort of like the separation that we're seeing now between sort of like leftists and liberals, right? And
we're not seeing it now. More people are paying attention, and people have the self autonomy to be more hateful out loud in a different way. I just have to keep saying none of what we're experiencing is new, y'all. White people, y'all just experiencing it more now. Like,
that's what I was gonna say. It reminds me of Sylvia Rivera. There's a clip of Sylvia speaking at Pride in the '90s, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it was literally a crowd of predominantly white cis gay men laughing at her as
yeah.
she talked about uh, Black trans women who were in prison and like needed our support, specifically in Rikers, as she talked about unhoused Black trans women, right? And sort of like the crowd just laughed at her and completely ignored the reality that was being discussed. And I think what we're seeing now is the same thing. Like we aren't seeing anything different, right? There is a reason why the MAGA gays exist and so on and so forth, right? Is because these people have always existed, and their identity as queer folks does not negate them from also being racist and anti-woman and anti-trans and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To your piece around funding, though, and I think what we've seen this year, what we have seen this year is a bunch of companies removing their dollars from Pride sponsorships. We've seen World Pride lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. New York Pride has also lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Um, but it is because folks are so heavily invested into capitalism and believe that pinkwashing will sort of get us anywhere. But what does it mean to honor Stonewall beyond this rainbow capitalism, and sort of like the surface level celebration that we know Pride to be?
Oh, me?
Whichever of you.
Sunshine.
I think her connection might be bad because she's frozen.
Sun?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're frozen. Your connection is like delayed. Okay, do me a favor, Alyssa, while Sun figures that out. Can you just repeat the question for me again?
What does it mean to honor Stonewall beyond rainbow capitalism and what we know sort of Pride to be as this surface level celebration?
I think I don't know. I'm not actually. I'm a truth teller, and I think that it's important to name again, what communities are we talking about? Are we talking about white queer people? What is their job to do in honoring Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and Mama Majors? Fund us, give us our money, give us monies. Don't make us do a bunch of extra reports. Stop using money as a tool of power and oppression. Believe Black women. Trans women are women. Why don't we just call women women? This is what white folks need to be doing. Black, brown, historically divested communities that especially that, identities that around gender and differently ableness as well as queerness, and if you're dealing with poverty at all, I think it's important to really do some self-reflection on how much of this our socialization into being oppressed people, how much do we believe about ourselves? What do you believe you deserve? What do you believe you are worth? And go and until you believe you are hot, SHIT, and that you deserve the best and that everyone else deserves the best, and that it we have to co-create the containers that we need together collectively. I think it's really important for us to remove ourselves from whiteness as much as possible. I think if we're taught, we also need to talk about region. We needed to be talking about this regionally, because although there are the same variables at play, the things look a little bit different. What is happening in the south of Turtle Island, right, is different than what we're dealing with up north. And I think that we need to be thinking about it regionally so we can be supporting each other regionally. Um, in the northeastern, I think Black queer orgs, both grassroots and grass tops, have been so maligned that we often replicate like competition. And I think like right now, and I probably have said this on like another thing if we look at it before, and I'm just going to keep saying it until it is a normalized way of being. We are not each other's competition, and we need to do what we got to do interpersonally, those of us who are near each other, build connection, go beyond um our socialization into power and what we believe power is. And we need to be working together. We need to be writing grants together. We need to be creating programming together. We need to be supporting each other's organizations, because if we haven't known before, now we know. Whenever there is the people in power, i.e. white folks, whether they're queer or straight, poor or not, whenever they decide that they want to divest from our communities en masse, they do it. We saw it happen after everybody stopped caring about Breonna Taylor and everybody else. By about 2022, 2023, we everybody didn't have Black uh avatars anymore, right? It stopped, and now we see it now. We are always the first ones to have to shut down, because we are always chasing what these white institutions keep telling us to chase. And I'm not wanting to blame us, I'm wanting to help us remember that any time in history that Black people of the diaspora have won collectively is because we have come together and we rebelled against major systems. And that's what needs to happen again. And the revolutionary ain't gonna be always nonviolent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. And white queer people, y'all need to just give us the money and get out the way. Y'all just messy and in the way. Tired of y'all.
Sen, do you have anything to add to that, love?
Can y'all hear me okay? Because I just sounded like a robot. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can hear you.
okay. Uh, hold on, y'all. Technical dish over here.
Are you in the basement or something?
I'm at Citywide, actually.
Oh, you're in the hallway.
Yeah.
That's why.
Um,
Yeah, the hallway has shitty signal.
yeah. No, but yeah, the signal inside wasn't doing me justice. What was the question? But I want to say, while being here, and Ala was talking about showing up and supporting to each other, supporting one another. That's something I try to stress all the time. I don't know if it's reaching folks or not, but I mean, the collective work, the community care, and coming together. Like, we talk about a revolution, we talk about all these things, but it's not going to happen in silos, right? We have to do it together. We have to protest. We have to organize. We have to strategize together. Create mutual aid networks together. Create safe and bold spaces together. And spaces where we can, learn together and share our stories, amplify our stories, right? Um, Continue to talk about the history. I said, it's not going to be nonviolent. And with that, I believe, I can't, I want to say his name is like Baynard or something like that. who actually was a mentor to Dr. King
Oh,
during
Russ. Oh, yeah. He's
Bayard Rustin.
Baynard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who actually was a mentor for Dr. King and nonviolent practices and everything like that, right? So we don't hear about that, right? We just hear about Dr. King and the practices and framework, and so we also have to continue to resist and rebel, and like you're not erasing us, like we're here. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Now I think it's often easy to sort of get stuck within our theories and our analysis. And oftentimes it doesn't always show within our praxis. So I'm wondering for both of you, what does Black queer resistance look like in your day-to-day life?
Being waking up, coming outside, being visible, using my voice, creating art. That is my resistance. I feel like I say all the time, like I'm a walking protest. So that's my resistance, like definitely being visible, um taking up space, and also creating the spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. For me, my personal lived experience of resistance is continuing to be a truth teller, even though the fiefdoms of Connecticut often try to turn me into a scapegoat. Knowing and naming that, and continuing to show up, continue to co-create, continuing to believe in the people who don't believe in me, continuing to work and fight for their liberation, because I know that the only reason they hate me is because they hate themselves. And knowing that my existence is not, I'm not the only one. Oftentimes, you know, some of the people who have experienced this have even more visual oppressions than I experience, right? And I think that I'm okay with the fact that that's other people's stuff and not mine. And to continue to keep my receipts, continue to show up. So if and when someone decides to humanize me and wants to engage with me on a personal level and speak to me, we can do that. And I often used to really be upset and sad that I am often isolated because I tell the truth, because I ask for accountability, because I actually want and believe in abolition, and I want to not only tear down, but I want to co-create and build up. And I know that, like Mama Audrey said, the master's tools will not undo the master's house. And like you named earlier, Alyssa, we myself included often get stuck in theory, because theory and analysis, that shit's pretty. You get on a newspaper, you get on all the lists, you get extra stipends and shit, but the praxis and areas where it is not a general praxis is lonely and isolating, and it really fucks with your emotional wellness and mental health. And so if I didn't know and trust and believe that I deserve dignity and that everyone else deserves dignity, and really fully understand the reason why we show up in community and collective, because we are historically divested, because when you are an oppressed person and you finally get power, you finally get money, why wouldn't you do whatever you could and step on whoever you could to keep it? And I understand that. I don't do that. But I understand that, and I just continue to co-create with the folks who want to co-create with me. And when I'm seeking liberation honestly for everyone. Whether I fuck with them or not.
Well, do you have any questions?
You said what?
Oh, I was wondering if Timo had any questions.
No, I'm just sitting here listening. I told Alyssa, I was like, I'm gonna let y'all hold this container because y'all carry a lot of wisdom. And just sitting here listening, and even just I was trying to like all the name drops y'all were doing. I was like, let me get it, and y'all was on to the next. But it really speaks to right this kind of what you talked about, Alyssa, like this idea around like, yo, we've been around forever, right? And this has always been a fight. And like, yes, this is a different type of fight, and it's showing up in a different way. However, this has always been a fight.
Mhm.
People being able, like marginalized humans being able to just like exist
This,
and not have to fight to just exist. And regardless of what anyone's religious affiliation is, I don't see one religion that says that human beings should not be able to just exist, and be loved as who they are. Which is so crazy to me to see a lot of the things that are going on right now. But no, I really appreciate what y'all brought today, um, and the topics that y'all highlighted. I definitely want to highlight the work that you all are doing, right? Because there's real work getting done on the ground. People are out here, to Sun's point, that are collaborating, building relationship with folk. And we really want people to get tapped in, get plugged in, figure out where they could fit in. So yeah, would love to hear more about what that looks like for y'all.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, for the folks that are in New Haven, I'm actively working with the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, and we are holding community conversations. Keep on the lookout, because it's a opportunity for oh, I didn't know you was gonna pull up my Instagram. My Instagram is so inappropriate, y'all. I hope y'all join me. I love Instagram. Instagram is like if you want to really meet my personality, because it's hard to get to them when you can. But New Haven Symphony Orchestra is really finally stepping up their existing commitment to the Black community and the Black history excellence, of what are the Black Mecca that New Haven is, especially in the Dixwell area. Historically, for hundreds of years, New Haven was and is the Black Mecca for Black business, Black history, all these folks that we hear in our past, um, Ida B. Wells, Martin Luther King. Those folks came through New Haven a lot and connected with the black excellence that is just housed here in New Haven, and we have historically are a national um um like just container of black history from back then W.E.B. Du Bois to the Black Panther Party to now to Black Lives Matter New Haven is citywide youth organization, right? um and I think um places like New Haven Symphony Orchestra, Yale, large institutions are at the precipice of dying out in a way of being relevant. And some institutions like New Haven Symphony Orchestra are trying to get themselves together in a different way. And so we're having community conversations in the summer and in the fall that if you want to have a say in what New Haven Symphony Orchestra does for their season of 2026 and 2027, definitely come and be a part of that. For Black Lives Matter, citywide, we have the New Haven Roundtable, organizing roundtable that is just starting and is rooted in the principles of what we shared today. Black Lives Matter New Haven are Black women who are from this city or migrated to this city and have dedicated our blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, some of our familial blood is in the ground in this community. And We are, everybody's organization is at the time of needing the community to pivot back into engagement. And so, and in a real way, and like showing up, not just money. White people, we do need you to give money to all of us, but we also need a resurgence of bodies, a resurgence of remembering that New Haven is a very powerful entity nationally. And what anything that happens in New Haven and the politics and government often gets piloted here and then pushed out. And so in Connecticut alone, we have a really amazing opportunity, and have had and will continue to have an amazing opportunity to be a stronghold in the Northeast. And I am ready to co-create with people who are tired of fighting to exist. Like I think Timo and Son said. And so that's what I'm shouting out. If you want to get direct work with me directly, I am a coach and facilitator. You can find me at liberation the letter u.com. You can find my email and my connections. You can see what we do. We do systems thinking, somatic movements, coaching, rebel rousers. If you look hard on the pictures on the site, you'll see all four of us that are on this thing, because we'd be out here in these streets, y'all. And I would really, really be building multiple containers for Black folks, African Americans, if that's still what you call yourself, to do the work together and collectively. And for white folks who want to let go of whiteness yourself, we also build containers at Liberation U for you. And I also do trainings with multiple institutions throughout the state of Connecticut, Northeast, and West Coast now. So you can find me, reach me, and let's get into some rabble rousing, troublemaking, and collective love and being together.
Thank you. Son.
I think
You what?
Well, one, I just want to start by saying that I think folks should definitely find spaces that uplift and teach around dialogue, around transformation, as well as healing, right? We're talking about liberation and resistance. All of those things are tied to healing. I am also a teaching artist, and so I curate and facilitate workshops around art and healing. So again, you can follow me on uh, Instagram, Poetic Sun, or Sun Queen Writes on Facebook. Also with organizing with UAC, specifically around housing prices, demanding dignity for unhoused folks. We have meetings every Friday at the New Haven Library at 1 o'clock, 1:15. Also, we have started
You
accompaniment
said the one
night.
downtown?
Yeah, at the New Haven Library downtown. Also, every Thursday, we do accompaniment nights, which is basically going out into the community, feeding unhoused folks, trying to provide different resources, um, necessities, socks, and blankets, and whatever resources that we have, whether that's contacting 211 or desk, different things of that nature. We're always looking for volunteers to come out and help. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us this evening, for being a part of such an amazing conversation for our listeners and those who will listen later. I highly recommend that you plug in to all of the resources that were named. We know that you are in good hands, and it is definitely the time to get involved and show up and be in community. Um, As we close this conversation, let us remember that Stonewall was not a parade. It was a rebellion, a declaration that Black and Brown trans lives matter, not just in theory, but in practice, in policy, in power. The fight didn't end that night in 1969, and it doesn't end here with this conversation. Our liberation isn't something we beg for, it is something that we build brick by brick, story by story, and breath by breath. So wherever you are, ask yourself, what will you do with the fire that was lit at Stonewall? Because this movement isn't waiting, and neither are we. Thank you.
Period. And neither is we. We out here on the move. Catch us out here.
Yeah,
Don't you got a
seriously.
show coming
And
up?
remember that resistance is a legacy and that you're a part of it. I feel like oftentimes people don't know like what to do, where do I go? So again, you have Black Lives Matter here, you have Citywide Youth, there's other organizations and movements around the city. You belong in this fight. You know, you don't have to necessarily be on the front line. You could be sending emails. You could be doing childcare. Like there's so many different
Cooking,
things, cooking. There's,
transportation. We need people to just drive people places sometimes. It'd be so hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
transportation, all the things, and so that definitely plug in because we can't continue to do this work alone. And
I mean,
yeah.
we are going to continue to do it if you don't join, but it will be easier and you'll get to liberation faster too if you join us.
So, son, you have a show coming up?
Oh,
Yes, I keep saying thank you, T-Mobile. I've been trying to plug her. Thank you. Best Friends Unite.
I just forgetting, and also, right? So we have to remember that rest is a part of our liberation, and so yeah. And my mother's calling me, right? And being a caregiver and all the things. So we gotta
Sure.
remember when to breathe, when to rest, and so we can be our radical dope self. So I am performing at New Haven Black Pride. That is January 14th at APMH. Um,
June.
June 14th.
Thank you.
Um, I said what?
You said January.
Oh, jeez, look. Yeah, so that's June 14th, 1 to 5 at APMH, Chapel Street. I don't know the exact address, but Black Pride, so come out and yeah, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and it's always free food at Black Pride. It's always a good time. We be out there being very black and very prideful and very gay and very trans. So if that's what,
APNH APNH is located at 1302 Chapel Street, New Haven, Connecticut.
mm-hmm.
And we will
Shout out to the people who Google real fast.
Y'all talk fast. I
What?
can't Google fast
I
enough.
said shout out to the people who Google real fast because I don't never know. I'll be like, y'all could Google it. It's
You know. And those of y'all who are watching now or be watching later, please remember to subscribe and follow us on all of our platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't ask me what the names are. I don't remember them. I need to
I
get a
don't
thing.
know, but I think I'm starting me a podcast too.
They're all linked on our link tree and on our Instagram.
Right? That
And
works.
starting next month, we will be moving to a 2 episode a month schedule. So you will be seeing us more next month and moving forward. Super excited for that. We released our summer schedule with all of our events for the summer. So make sure to look at that on our Instagram. And we hope to see you at our in-person events, just like we see you at these virtual ones. We hope to be able to build community with you all in person. And with that, we are signing off and we will see you next month.
Bye,
Shout out to
y'all.
all my Ravenclaws.
Slytherin, let's go.
Don't forget to do a little magic and